Venerable Qian said with an awkward smile, "Shall we go over and take a look now? My wife should have finished her discussion with Fang Chen." Great Venerable Xing Yuan pondered briefly, then waved his hand dismissively. "No need. Qian Jiao has always been utterly spoiled and has caused countless disasters. Now that she has kicked the iron plate that is Fang Chen, it's good for her to learn a lesson. If I go over, she will surely pin all the blame on me. Let's just watch from here." With a flick of his sleeve, a shimmering screen of light materialized before him, projecting Fang Chen's point of view. On the screen, Fang Chen was seen reclining comfortably in a Grandmaster's chair, one leg crossed over the other. He reached out to accept the spirit tea poured by Venerable Qian Jiao, gently blew away the steam, and asked leisurely, "Venerable Qian Jiao, what matter could not be discussed outside that you had to invite me alone into this lounge?" Seeing Fang Chen's expression, which seemed to be waiting for her to beg, Venerable Qian Jiao gritted her teeth inwardly. She cursed silently, asterisk this bastard, what an act, fine, I'll swallow my pride for now, once Xing is saved, I'll settle the score with you, asterisk. She offered a graceful smile and said softly, "This humble wife has only Xing as my child, and my love for him makes me a bit overprotective. If I have offended young Master Fang in any way, I beg for your generous understanding." As she spoke, she performed a formal one, fubo, to Fang Chen. Fang Chen chuckled inwardly, asterisk as expected of the dean's wife, her emotional control is top-notch, furious as a volcano inside, yet her face still blooms with a flower-like smile. Asterisk. He set down the teacup and said calmly, "You are too courteous, Venerable Qian Jiao. It was merely a small misunderstanding, and I have not taken it to heart. Let us return to the main topic and discuss how to reverse Xing's condition." Venerable Qian Jiao's heart leapt with joy. Asterisk is Fang Chen actually this easy to talk to? Asterisk. With another graceful bow, she moved to sit in the Grandmaster's chair beside Fang Chen. As she bent over, her wine, red gown accentuated her voluptuous figure in an alluring manner. A faint natural charm emanated from her every frown and smile, enough to soften any heart. A subtle, floral fragrance wafted from her, refreshing to the soul. Venerable Qian Jiao exhaled a breath as fragrant as orchids and said gently, "Young Master Fang, if you have any difficulties, you may speak freely with this humble wife." Even though Fang Chen had experienced countless amorous affairs, and the beauties by his side surpassed her in looks, his heart still stirred slightly at this moment. He laughed inwardly, asterisk no wonder great Venerable Xing Yuan dotes on his wife so obediently, how could he bear to let such a peerless beauty suffer any grievance, asterisk. Fang Chen quickly calmed his mind and said seriously, "There are no difficulties. To reverse an ancient giant requires a precious saint's crystal husk. This junior happens to possess one, however, each use dims its power. This means that using it once for Xing will mean one less fellow from the Tai Kang Great Province can be saved." Venerable Qian Jiao snorted inwardly, asterisk you dog, I knew you were just trying to extort benefits and squeeze me for a fortune. Asterisk. She parted her crimson lips and said, "How about I compensate you with something that can increase the self-preservation strength of your Tai Kang Great Province, reducing some casualties that would make up for the loss of the saint's crystal husk." A smile appeared on Fang Chen's face. Since Venerable Qian Jiao is so reasonable and righteous, what more can this junior say? Venerable Qian Jiao sneered inwardly, asterisk I thought you'd be more troublesome, so easy to handle, not a challenge at all, asterisk. Smiling, she prepared to take out a wish paper. Used properly, this paper could save many lives. But before she could produce it, Fang Chen continued, "Then I shall thank you, senior, for your generous gift of 10 wish papers." Venerable Qian Jiao's expression stiffened slightly, and she abruptly stood up. 10? Are you joking? Her voice rose 3 notches. Wish papers are refined from the finest materials of the Han Yuan province, combined with the energy of the Great Tao's righteousness. Even venerables of the various academies possess only a handful. As the dean's wife, I have only 10 in total. If I give you 3, I'll be left with a mere 7. And now you dare to open your mouth like a lion and ask for 10 more. When you undertook that perilous mission to the heavenly realm, you only received 3. Now, for a single use of the saint's crystal husk, you demand 10. This isn't extortion, it's taking my life. In the distant ward, watching this scene, great Venerable Xing Yuan laughed in exasperation. That brat, he truly dares to ask 10 wish papers. Even if he had 100 lives, they wouldn't be enough to pay for 10 wish papers. Venerable Qian said awkwardly, "Shall we go over now? My wife likely doesn't have 10 wish papers." Great Venerable Xing Yuan waved his hand, watching Venerable Qian Jiao's predicament with leisure. "No rush. It's rare to find someone who can put this woman in her place. Let her suffer a bit more." With that, he continued watching the show with ease. In the lounge, Fang Chen shifted his crossed leg and said unhurriedly, "Venerable Qian Jiao, aren't you utterly doting on your son?" To vent his anger, "You didn't even care that I was your husband's savior, insisting on hanging me up for a beating. Why do you not care about your son's life now?" Venerable Qian Jiao gritted her teeth, seething inwardly, *, "This little brat can't take a single loss. He's finding ways to get back at me, *." She took out one wish paper and slapped it on the table. "Take it or leave it." Fang Chen glanced at it, leisurely took a sip of tea, and said with a half-smile, "Madam, you wouldn't want your son to remain an ancient giant forever, would you?" The powerful experts from various sects across the Han Yuan province, watching via the projection, all wore strange expressions. Someone muttered, "Why does that sound so odd?" Another chimed in, "I feel like I've heard that somewhere before." A third scratched his head, "I don't know why, but I feel a flash of green light before my eyes." Great Venerable Xing Yuan, who had been enjoying the show, stiffened, nearly coughing up a mouthful of old blood. He urgently shouted, "You brat, what kind of nonsense are you spouting?" Before his words faded, he flashed away, rushing with desperate urgency to stop the scene from developing further. Was this a scene fit for the entire Han Yuan province to see? Hearing this, Venerable Qian Jiao also showed a flicker of discomfort, flustered as she asked, "What do you mean?" Fang Chen replied with a half-smile, 10, not a single wish paper less. Oh, so that's what he meant. Venerable Qian Jiao's face flushed with shame. She had thought Fang Chen was coveting her beauty. Listening to the little giant's roars outside, she gritted her teeth, took out the remaining 6, and slapped them on the table. "Here they all are, now stop talking nonsense." Looking at the 7 wish papers before him, Fang Chen knew when to stop pushing his luck. Added to the 3 he had obtained earlier, he now possessed a full 10 wish papers, enough to last him a long time. He collected the wish papers and smiled. "Thank you, madame." Without another word, Fang Chen walked out of the lounge, his face the picture of satisfaction. Venerable Qian Jiao followed him out, her cheeks slightly flushed. But the moment they both appeared, they froze in unison. For outside the lounge, Great Venerable Xing Yuan stood with his hands clasped behind his back. He scrutinized their expressions, one utterly satisfied, the other blushing with shame. He couldn't help but fume, "Aren't you too ashamed of yourselves?" Fortunately, the entire Han Yuan province could bear witness that the two of them were completely innocent. Otherwise, given how they looked coming out, who knows what people might think? Fang Chen was momentarily stunned, feeling speechless. How was **, the one losing face? He had earned 10 wish papers through his own skill. How was that shameful? Venerable Qian Jiao's expression was slightly unnatural, but she quickly recovered and roared, "You old fool! Your son has turned into an ancient giant, and where have you been? I finally resolved the matter, and you show up here with your sarcastic remarks. I'll settle with you later." She turned to Fang Chen and urged, "Fang Chen, now that you have the wish papers, get to work properly." Fang Chen nodded, walked over to Xing and took out the saint's crystal husk. He placed the crystal husk on Xing's body, and a holy light immediately radiated forth. Thick plumes of white steam billowed from Xing's body. Soon, a chubby little boy tumbled out from within, leaving behind the massive skin of an ancient giant. Surprisingly, Xing showed no signs of weakness. He remained lively and energetic. He looked around in confusion. "Why am I here? Where's my hammer? Who took my hammer?" Turning and seeing Venerable Qian Jiao, he immediately cried out, "Mom, someone took the array-breaking hammer that Uncle gave me." "Uncle array-breaking hammer?" Great Venerable Xing Yuan and Venerable Qian Jiao instantly understood. Both of them glared at Fang Chen, with eyes blazing with fury. The corner of Fang Chen's mouth twitched. He cursed inwardly, *, "This damn kid doesn't follow the script." When the 3-crowned Asura king was reversed, he was extremely weak. But this one is bouncing around, *. Meeting the glares of Great Venerable Xing Yuan and Venerable Qian Jiao, Fang Chen remained unflustered and asked in return, "Why are you looking at me?" Xing and I hit it off. Was I wrong to give him a hammer?" Venerable Qian Jiao's chest heaved with anger. She raged inwardly, *, "This bastard. He caused my son to turn into an ancient giant and then extorted me. And I'm left swallowing a bitter pill, unable to voice my grievance, *. Xing finally recognized Fang Chen and said angrily, "You're the guy who tricked me." Fang Chen glared at him, put on the middle-aged man's mask, and said in a gruff voice, "That's right, it's me, your uncle. Give me back my hammer. I'm done playing. I want to go home." Xing was stunned. So the big brother was the uncle. Looking at Fang Chen's outstretched hand, he scratched his head and hid behind Venerable Qian Jiao. I lost it. Fang Chen snorted. Then you have to compensate me. That array-breaking hammer of mine is the finest treasure in the world, valuable enough to buy 10 Wenhai academies. Hurry up, pay up. Xing Xing, looking terrified, shrank further behind Venerable Qian Jiao. So that little hammer was that valuable. How could he possibly compensate for it? Just then, a sharp, feminine shout came from the sky. I've finally found you. Venerable Zhenyan, sensing the commotion here, had rushed over and indeed discovered Fang Chen, who had removed his mask. Gripping a pair of gleaming, cold scissors, she flashed towards Fang Chen with the clear intent of castrating him. Fortunately, Great Venerable Xing Yuan intervened in time. With a flick of his finger, he immobilized the rapidly moving Venerable Zhenyan. He chided lightly, "Stop this nonsense." The entire Han Yuan province had witnessed Fang Chen successfully rescuing him from the heavenly realm. Before he could even repay the favor, his daughter was about to castrate Fang Chen. What would the people of Han Yuan province think of him? Venerable Zhenyan struggled. Old man, stay out of my affairs. This Fang Chen has ruined my reputation. Today, I must settle accounts with him. Fang Chen was also angered by Venerable Zhenyan's actions. Being hunted down again and again, even a clay figurine would have a temper. He gave a light snort and said sharply, "Fine, settle accounts, is it? Then let's settle them clearly. I ask you, when you fell from the heavenly realm that day, was it not I who saved you and brought you back to the heavenly secrets pavilion? Was it not you who lost your memory, imitated my beloved, and kept calling me Fang Lang? Was it not you who climbed into my bed, serving one husband with another woman?" The powerful experts from various sects across the Han Yuan province, still watching the projection, all brought out small stools and sunflower seeds, beginning to munch with great relish. Someone clicked their tongue in wonder, the daughters of the great Venerable Xing Yuan, both serving the same husband. Another chimed in, "I thought there would be nothing worth seeing after descending from the heavenly realm." A third laughed, who would have thought the excitement would be unending, no less thrilling than the heavenly realm itself. Yet another sighed with emotion. "A lifetime of my experiences cannot compare to a single day in the life of Fang Chen." Someone nearby immediately mocked, "Compare yourself to Fang Chen. Can you bed the daughters of the great Venerable Xing Yuan? Take a look at your reflection in a puddle." The great Venerable Xing Yuan's expression shifted slightly. He hurriedly lowered his voice and hissed, "Enough." Fang Chen's heavenly eye crystal was still active. The matter of his daughter sharing a bed and serving Fang Chen had already been heard throughout the entire primordial chaos state. It wouldn't be long before it spread across the entire central plains. It was over. His daughter's purity and reputation were utterly ruined. The Venerable Zhenyan's delicate face flushed crimson with rage. She glared at Fang Chen and snapped, "And when you fell from the sky earlier and took liberties with me, was that my fault too?" Fang Chen's expression stiffened for a moment. He chuckled awkwardly. Perhaps this world is simply too small. To be honest, he was also puzzled. Last time he performed spatial teleportation. He had directly appeared at the scene where Venerable Zhenyan was changing her clothes. This time, falling from the sky, he had headed straight for her again. It was truly devilish luck. Venerable Zhenyan let out a cold, angry laugh. Gnashing her teeth, she said, "This world is indeed too small. Then I should eliminate the root of the problem once and for all. I'll castrate you." With those words, she raised her scissors, poised to charge at him once more. Fang Chen flashed to the side, hiding behind the great Venerable Xing Yuan. Feeling the immense power emanating from the great Venerable, his heart settled. With his hands clasped behind his back, he said with calm composure, "Venerable Zhenyan, do you think this is your home? To speak of killing and violence before the great Venerable Xing Yuan, such insolence." Then he cupped his hands respectfully towards the great Venerable Xing Yuan and said, "Senior Xing Yuan, this junior has a request. Given Venerable Zhenyan's unreasonable harassment, I ask that you take action, subdue her, and hand her over to me for judgment." The corner of the great Venerable Xing Yuan's mouth twitched. Asking a father to bind his own daughter and hand her over to the scoundrel who wronged her. Such a heaven-defying request was the first he had ever heard. He gritted his teeth slightly and said in a low voice, "Tell me, how do you intend to judge her?" Fang Chen glanced at Venerable Zhenyan and snorted lightly. "Simple. Since she's so fixated on the idea of two women serving one husband, I'll let her experience it again, then record it as evidence. If she dares to pester me further, I'll project the recording across the entire Central Plains." After much thought, only this method could permanently solve the problem and stop this petty-minded woman from bothering him. Although it was somewhat dishonorable, and the great Venerable Xing Yuan would surely disapprove. But this was an internal matter of the great state of Tai Kang. To repay the debt of saving his life, the great Venerable Xing Yuan should agree to help. Fang Chen asked, "What does Senior Xing Yuan think of my proposal?" The great Venerable Xing Yuan's fists clenched with audible cracks. He enunciated each word, excellent, truly excellent, absolutely magnificent. In all my life, I have never heard such a splendid request. Huh? Fang Chen faintly sensed that the great Venerable Xing Yuan's tone was somewhat off. He glanced around and only then noticed everyone's strange expressions. Venerable Zai Zio stared at Fang Chen, utterly dumbfounded. Venerable Qian Jiao watched with gleeful schadenfreude, as if waiting for Fang Chen's embarrassment. Fang Chen was stunned for a moment. His gaze darted back and forth between the great Venerable Xing Yuan and Venerable Zhenyan. Suddenly, he realized something. Why was Venerable Zhenyan at the Sea of Texts Academy? Not only could she enter and leave the Academy's treasury with ease, but she was also detained alone in one of its secluded courtyards. Earlier, Venerable Zhenyan had even cursed the great Venerable Xing Yuan as an old thing. That was not how an ordinary person would address the great Venerable Xing Yuan. Putting all the clues together, his heart sank with a thud. A terribly, terribly ominous thought surfaced in his mind. With a guilty conscience, he retreated, putting distance between himself and the great Venerable. He ventured tentatively, "The two of you couldn't possibly be father and daughter, could you?" The great Venerable Xing Yuan's face darkened as he glared at him, saying nothing. It was a tacit confirmation. Venerable Zhenyan, however, wore a mocking, toothy grin. "Heh, Fang Chen, oh Fang Chen. In my own home, you ask my father to capture me and hand me over to you, so you can record evidence of two women serving one husband. You truly dare to imagine." Fang Chen's vision darkened. At that moment, he wanted to curse his luck. Venerable Zhenyan's father was actually a great venerable who had undergone the 5 decays of heavenly men, and he was right here before him. He had even asked him for help in dealing with his own daughter. At this moment, even Fang Chen felt his own audacity was truly heaven-defying. Venerable Qian Jiao giggled and said, "You dare to covet my husband's precious daughter. I truly admire your courage." She had thought Fang Chen was audacious enough for blackmailing her, a venerable who had undergone the 2 decays. Little did she know the truly heaven-defying act was yet to come. Only Xing, with his thick, bushy black eyebrows furrowed in displeasure, glared at Venerable Zhenyan. Was this big sister also father's daughter? Then, after sister returned, wouldn't father and mother stop loving him? He tugged at Venerable Qian Jiao's sleeve, pouting, "Mom, I don't want a sister. Let's give her away." Suddenly remembering something, he slapped his forehead. "Right, let's give her to Big Brother. I lost my hammer, didn't I? Then we can give him sister instead." He suddenly felt very clever and grinned widely. Venerable Zhenyan shot him a sideways glance, finding him utterly detestable. She snorted, "Brat, adults are talking. Don't interrupt." Venerable Qian Jiao exploded upon hearing this. Planting her hands on her hips, she scolded, "You wretched girl, how dare you speak to my Xing like that? They say a child's words hold no malice. For someone as old as you to pick on a mere child, aren't you ashamed? Fang Chen may be a shameless scoundrel, but you're not much better." Venerable Zhenyan scoffed and retorted, "You vixen, are you any better? Even in the great state of Tai Kang, I've heard of your reputation as a doting mother who spoils her son rotten. Keep coddling your son, and sooner or later you'll ruin the reputation the old thing spent a lifetime building." Venerable Qian Jiao was livid. She tugged at the great Venerable Xing Yuan's sleeve. "Look, just look. See how your precious daughter speaks to me. I knew it. Once she returns, this household will never know peace." Venerable Zhenyan snorted. "Vixen who wants to share the same roof with you. Old thing, if you want me back, fine, but I don't want to see this vixen. Send her away." Venerable Qian Jiao was furious. "Outrageous. The moment you return, you try to drive me out. You're the one who should leave." She grabbed the great Venerable Xing Yuan and said through gritted teeth, "Stop playing dead. Between your daughter and me, only one can stay. Who do you choose?" Venerable Zhenyan sneered coldly. "Old thing, you'd better stay with your vixen. I'll return to the great state of Tai Kang. You stay with your vixen, and we'll go our separate ways under the vast heavens." The great Venerable Xing Yuan instantly felt his head splitting. On one side was his daughter, finally returned after so long. On the other was his beloved wife, whom he cherished. He couldn't bear to abandon either. Fang Chen covered his mouth, stifling his laughter. Originally, the family of four was united against him. In the blink of an eye, it had turned into a domestic feud. What was he waiting for? Of course, it was the perfect chance to slip away. However, the moment he moved, the great Venerable Xing Yuan spotted him. Seeing him still snickering, the great Venerable was furious. But he truly had no time to deal with Fang Chen, and could only let him escape. Just as he was about to shout and stop Fang Chen, a calm, gentle voice materialized in his mind. A man of the ancient sage Yan Huang, such a fine son-in-law, and you're willing to let him slip away.
What?
A man of the ancient sage Yan Huang. The great Venerable Xing Yuan looked at Venerable Qian Jiao's palace in shock. Then, with astonishment, he stared at Fang Chen's retreating figure and thought, Senior he, how could he be connected to the ancient sage Yan Huang? That venerable sage has not manifested for over a millennium. Whether he lives or dies is unknown. How could this person be linked to the ancient sage Yan Huang? That same calm voice echoed once more in his mind. I might mistake the aura of other ancient sages, but never that of Yan Huang. The great Venerable Xing Yuan's pupils trembled violently, filled with immense joy. That ancient sage was still alive. This was absolutely momentous, joyous news. Then he gazed at Fang Chen's back, his eyes brimming with awe. No wonder this youth was so monstrously talented. He was connected to the ancient sage, Yan Huang. Then his potential must be boundless. Thinking this, his mind began to race. Perfect, I've been troubled about how to repay him for saving my life. If he became my son-in-law, then a son-in-law saving his father-in-law would be a matter of course, wouldn't it? There would be no need for elaborate repayment. His gaze shifted several times before finally settling into one of unwavering resolve. He immediately barked a light command. Silence, all of you. I have an announcement to make. The sheer, overwhelming aura radiating from him left the True Words Venerable and the 1,000 Charms Venerable paralyzed, their bodies frozen stiff. Sensing the Star Abyss Great Venerable's serious intent, the two women wisely clamped their mouths shut. When the Star Abyss Great Venerable acted as a father and husband, they could afford to be unruly and make a fuss. But when he conducted himself as a human realm, paramount sovereign of the 5 decays of heaven and man, it was time to restrain themselves. Fang Chen, who had been tiptoeing away, was also petrified by the imposing pressure, his body locking up. Before he could regain his mobility, a large hand descended heavily upon his shoulder. It was none other than the Star Abyss Great Venerable. He slung an arm around Fang Chen's shoulders, his voice grave. Fang Chen, you didn't think you could just ruin my daughter's virtue and walk away scot-free, did you? Upon hearing this, a flicker of delight crossed the True Words Venerable's face. He was finally demanding compensation on her behalf. It seemed the Star Abyss Great Venerable was finally fulfilling his paternal duties for once. Immediately after, she fixed a look of schadenfreude upon Fang Chen. For the Star Abyss Great Venerable to treat the matter with such solemnity and gravity, Fang Chen was undoubtedly in for a world of pain. Fang Chen also sensed the danger, replying earnestly, Senior Star Abyss, it was all a misunderstanding. I absolutely had no ill intent. The Star Abyss Great Venerable's face hardened. The deed is done. Does intent even matter anymore? Fang Chen's heart sank. Then, what does the senior propose? A cold dread gripped Fang Chen's heart. Was this old monster planning to give him a brutal beating to vent his precious daughter's anger? To his utter astonishment, the Star Abyss Great Venerable drawled out his words. Isn't it obvious? You must marry my daughter. Hello. Fang Chen was dumbstruck. Beside him, the True Words Venerable, who had been waiting for the show, was equally stunned. Almost in unison, they cried out in shock, impossible. How could Fang Chen possibly marry a woman who constantly wanted to kill him? And how could the True Words Venerable ever agree to marry a man who had taken liberties with her time and again? The True Words Venerable's willow leaf eyebrows shot up in fury. Pointing an accusing finger at the Star Abyss Great Venerable, she shouted, You old fossil. Not only do you refuse to help me, but you want me to marry him *. Are you siding with an outsider to bully me? The Star Abyss Great Venerable waved a dismissive hand, speaking with a tone of profound wisdom. True Words, you mustn't speak like that. The two of you share a deep karmic bond. This is a marriage preordained by the heavens. Marrying him is the will of fate itself. The True Words Venerable trembled with rage. What karmic bond? I wish I could beat him to death. The Star Abyss Great Venerable chuckled, stroking his beard, fighting is intimacy, and scolding is affection. Spend more time together, and it will naturally blossom. The True Words Venerable was on the verge of madness. Who is fighting intimacy and scolding affection with this scoundrel? She simply couldn't fathom what madness had seized her father today to spout such absurdities. That kind of dynamic belonged to lovers. Between her and Fang Chen, one despised the other's pettiness, and the other wished he could castrate her. Where was the room for affection or intimacy? The star abyss Great Venerable shrugged, a picture of nonchalance. Try it and you'll see. With that, he released the pressure, suppressing the True Words Venerable. Fury gave way to a cold, bitter laugh from the True Words Venerable. Fine, 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 she spat out 3 times. Then I'll show you exactly what kind of intimacy and affection we share. Before the words had fully left her lips, she vanished in a flash, reappearing directly before Fang Chen. Her palm shot out towards his chest as she cursed. You dog, you. It was only at this moment that Fang Chen suddenly realized this was likely a trap. The star abyss Great Venerable had set for the True Words Venerable. But it was far too late to warn her. The True Words Venerable's palm halted 3 feet from Fang Chen's chest, unable to advance an inch further, as if held fast by an invisible, unyielding force. The curses that had been about to spill from her lips were abruptly cut off. She offered almost no resistance. Her eyes rapidly softened, melting into a gaze of profound affection. The hand that had been striking at Fang Chen transformed its motion, gently hooking around his neck instead. Her soft, fragrant body leaned into his embrace. Tilting her head back, her eyes hazy with passion, she breathed out a whisper like orchid, scented air. Fang Lang, my dearest Fang Lang. Rising on her tiptoes, she planted a tender kiss upon Fang Chen's lips. Only then did she snap back to reality, aghast at her own actions. With a sharp shriek, she shoved Fang Chen away. Ah, what did I just do? How could this happen? The star abyss Great Venerable spread his hands, a triumphant smile on his face. See, wasn't I right? You may complain about Fang Chen with your words, but your body is honest. You're quite fond of him. The True Words Venerable was utterly bewildered, unable to believe her own behavior. Hearing her father's words, she roared, impossible. How could I possibly like him? She shot a venomous glare at Fang Chen and flashed towards him once more, raising her hand to strike. You bastard. What did you do to me? This renewed act of violence and verbal abuse triggered the same strange restriction once again. The bizarre scene from moments before repeated itself in full. Ah, you have to believe me. I really have no feelings for this bastard. Fang Lang, I like you so much. Ah, what is going on? Fang Chen, I'll split you in half. Moi. Ah. And so, the entire population of the mixed origin continent watched on, their eyes red with envy, forced to swallow a massive dose of public affection. Only after Fang Chen's face was thoroughly covered in crimson lip marks did the star abyss Great Venerable finally wave a hand, separating the pair. A smile played on his lips. True words, trust what your body tells you. You cannot leave Fang Chen. The True Words Venerable was numb. Her mouth opened and closed, but not a single word of rebuttal emerged. This was too bizarre. She had just spent who knows how long hugging, kissing, and lavishing affection on Fang Chen, completely against her will. Remembering her own shameless and wanton display, her face flushed crimson with shame. She swept a fierce gaze around her and snarled, If anyone dares breathe a word of what happened today, I will die right in front of you. This was simply too humiliating. She wished the ground would swallow her whole. The purple firmament Venerable, standing to the side, wore an odd expression. He coughed twice. True words, fairy, there's really no need for such concern, because the entire mixed origin continent was watching. Whether we speak of it or not is rather moot. The True Words Venerable froze. Fang Chen also paused for a moment before a sudden realization dawned on him. His face paled dramatically, and he clapped a hand to his forehead. With a light scrape of his fingernail, he pried out a crystal, the Heavenly Eye Crystal. He cried out in disbelief, ah! The Heavenly Eye Crystal was still active. He had faced so many dangers in the celestial realm that he had completely forgotten about the crystal's existence. If that was the case, then his act of sending the shatter, formation, hammer to trick Xing, and his blackmail of the 1,000 charms Venerable, all of it had been broadcast live to the entire mixed origin continent. Darkness swam before his eyes. He felt as if the very sky were collapsing. This was beyond mortifying. The True Words Venerable's face burned even hotter with shame. Covering her face, she let out a series of piercing screams. I don't want to live anymore. She had just done that asterisk to Fang Chen in front of the entire continent. Wait! That meant the scene of Fang Chen falling and holding her naked body in the sky pit had also been. Even though it was mostly just his back, it had been broadcast across the mixed origin continent. Ah, she could bear it no longer. letting out a final frantic shriek. She tore through the sky and vanished. She couldn't stay in the mixed origin continent for another second. The Star Abyss Great Venerable smiled inwardly, but did not stop the True Words Venerable from returning to the Great Granary continent. A wife follows her husband. Since True Words was betrothed to Fang Chen, it was only natural she returned to her husband's home. Moreover, traveling with the followers of the ancient sage of the wastes would make it easier for her to survive the impending cataclysm. He watched his daughter's receding figure, releasing a long, heavy sigh in his heart. Daughter, take care. Perhaps this is the last time we shall meet. Then he turned to Fang Chen, his eyes filled with boundless hope. Patting Fang Chen's shoulder, he said, Fang Chen, take good care of True Words. I have not been a worthy father. I owe her far too much. I hope that with you by her side for the rest of her days, her path ahead will be filled with light once more. Fang Chen retorted with exasperation, Senior Star Abyss, you don't actually think that after this ridiculous farce, the True Words Venerable and I are husband and wife, do you? The Star Abyss Great Venerable shook his head lightly. Of course not. But the entire Central Plains now knows that you are the son-in-law I have acknowledged. This established them as nominal fiancés. From this day forth, no other man would dare to covet the True Words Venerable, unless she chose to remain alone. If she sought a partner, it could only be Fang Chen. Fang Chen shook his head. You should treat your daughter better yourself. It's not easy for her alone in the Great Granary continent. When he first met the True Words Venerable, she was being coerced by the evil crow Venerable to offer her body. Despite that, she had never revealed that her father was a paramount sovereign of the Five Decays. It was clear she had carved out her current status in the Great Granary continent entirely by her own efforts. Only she knew the bitterness and hardship she had endured along the way. The Star Abyss Great Venerable only sighed, offering no further explanation. He changed the subject. When do you plan to return to the Great Granary continent? Fang Chen thought for a moment. I wish to see the compassionate Mirror Venerable first. Have you found her? The compassionate Mirror Venerable had fallen with them. Logically, she should have awakened long ago. The Star Abyss Great Venerable let out a soft sigh. Her tribulation of the Five Decays has already begun. What? Fang Chen's expression shifted. He quickly said, I would like to see her alone. The Star Abyss Great Venerable nodded. Follow me. Soon they arrived at a secluded courtyard. Fang Chen saw the unconscious form of the compassionate Mirror Venerable. A faint, lingering odor of decay hung in the air of the room. Not daring to delay, he retrieved a sheet of wish paper and grabbed a handful of time, space dust, holding it in his mouth. Gazing at the compassionate Mirror Venerable's pale face, he sighed softly. Considering all the help you've given me, I'll save you this once. From now on, our accounts are settled. With a thought, he activated the wish paper. The compassionate Mirror Venerable's domain is restored. As soon as the wish was uttered, it was as if a bottomless pit had opened within him, voraciously devouring his life force. He aged at a visible rate. Fortunately, the time, space dust in his mouth, sensed the anomaly and immediately released a torrent of immense, powerful vitality, rapidly restoring his body. This cycle of depletion and restoration repeated for a full 10 breaths. Only after over 100 grains of time, space dust in Fang Chen's mouth were completely exhausted did the wish finally take effect. He clicked his tongue inwardly. Heavens, 100 grains of time. Space dust. Back when he dealt with the Frost Mountain Giant King, using 10 grains had already seemed extravagant. Now, a single wish had consumed 100. His stock of over 1,000 grains had been whittled down to 900. A pang of heartache struck him. I should avoid using this thing unless absolutely necessary. It's a fortune burner, a life-extending divine treasure that was nearly impossible to find in the outside world, and he had just blown through over 100 grains in one go. It was a good thing his mother wasn't around, or she'd surely have scolded him as a prodigal son. Moreover, due to the momentary insufficiency of time, space dust earlier, his body had aged drastically. He now appeared as a white-haired old man, his face deeply lined with wrinkles. He was just about to take out a few more grains to consume. At that moment, the compassionate Mirror Venerable stirred awake. She immediately sensed her restored domain and gasped in shock. My domain is restored, unless all the powerhouses of the Literary Sea Academy joined forces, expending the majority of their noble spirit, or a sage personally intervened. Such a feat should have been impossible. Neither option was currently feasible. Suddenly, she noticed the white-haired, ancient, looking elder standing by her bed and frowned slightly. There was something oddly familiar about him. She couldn't help but ask in surprise, Old sir, who are you? How could Fang Chen let her discover his identity? He quickly lowered and roughened his voice, just a passerby. Since you are well, I shall take my leave." With that, he hunched his back and turned to leave. The compassionate mirror Venerable watched Fang Chen's retreating figure, a thoughtful expression forming between her brows. The more she looked, the more familiar he seemed. Abruptly, her heart jolted violently. Could this be Fang Chen? Had he used the wish paper, sacrificing his own vitality to restore her origin? Impossible, right? Since when was that brat so kind-hearted? Impossible, it definitely wasn't him. However, when she sensed the faint, familiar aura of her own mirror emanating from within the white-haired elder's robes, her entire body trembled violently. Her pupils constricted to pinpricks. It felt as if something had stabbed her heart. Fang Chen, had he really done this for her? Had he been reduced to this state? The compassionate mirror Venerable immediately leaped from the bed and chased after him, her hand landing firmly on Fang Chen's shoulder. Fang Chen worried inwardly. He was an old man now. Surely the compassionate mirror Venerable wouldn't take advantage of an elder, would she? He cleared his hoarse, aged throat. "You have mistaken me for someone else." But the compassionate mirror Venerable's face was filled with self-reproach, her voice trembling. "You foolish child, I threatened and tried to kill you. Why would you sacrifice yourself to save me? Was it worth it?" Fang Chen very much wanted to say, "If you had woken up a little later, I would have fully recovered." Hearing her words, he could only don the mantle of the righteous hero once more. Putting on a solemn expression, he declared, "Didn't I say it before? I am but a junior. Losing one of me has no impact on the central plains. If I can exchange my life for that of a powerhouse at the fourth decay of heaven and man like you, then my death is worth it." The compassionate mirror Venerable was deeply moved. Back within the heaven, connecting black pillar, Fang Chen had given her, and the star abyss Great Venerable the precious few life, extending treasures he had to resist the aging law. And now, he had paid the price of his own youth to restore her domain. She no longer knew how she could possibly repay him. After a moment's contemplation, she spoke gently. "Fang Chen, return to the celestial continent with me. I will exhaust every possible method to restore you." How could Fang Chen dare return to the celestial continent? If he remembered correctly, the compassionate mirror Venerable hailed from that so-called young Emperor Mountain, the same organization as the Heart Calamity Venerable. He quickly waved a dismissive hand, his voice aged and frail. "It's all right. A falling leaf returns to its roots. A soul returns to its homeland. I only wish to return to the great granary continent to live out my remaining days in peace. Senior compassionate mirror, please continue your search for merit." But the compassionate mirror Venerable refused to let go, her eyes filled with pity. She pressed on. "Then do you have any wishes? I will fulfill them for you." Wishes? Fang Chen rolled his eyes internally. His greatest wish was for the compassionate mirror Venerable to stay far away from him. Suddenly, Fang Chen remembered the compassionate mirror Venerable's serrated sword. That seemed to be a top-grade spirit sword. For this woman, he had wasted a full 100 grains of time, space dust, borrowing her top-grade spirit sword for, say, 80. 1 year's wouldn't be too much to ask, right? He cleared his throat, affecting an air of detached serenity. "I have no more wishes left. However, I have a friend who is in desperate need of a top-grade spirit sword. If you could lend him yours, then I could die without regrets." The serrated sword. Venerable Lion Jing hesitated for a moment. A supreme-grade spirit sword. Even a great venerable who had weathered the 5 decays of heaven and man might not possess one. It was only by her son's fortune that she had obtained one, and it had been a great aid to her. To part with this sword would significantly impact her strength. Yet, gazing at Fang Chen's aged and decrepit appearance, she ultimately could not bear to refuse. She retrieved the serrated sword, handed it to Fang Chen, and said softly, "I give it to you. You saved me twice. Let us consider our debts settled." Fang Chen was astonished. This woman was actually giving it to him, not lending, but gifting it outright. For a moment, Fang Chen felt a twinge of embarrassment. He hesitated briefly before accepting it with both hands, declaring solemnly, "I will return it to you once my friend is finished using it." He would return it to her when he no longer needed the sword. Venerable Lion Jing patted his shoulder and said, "Take care of yourself, then." Fang Chen cupped his hands and replied, "Senior Lion Jing, you take care as well." He watched as Venerable Lion Jing shot through the skies and departed, a complex swirl of emotions rising in his heart. The enmity between him and Venerable Lion Jing was now considered settled. Seizing the moment of solitude, he once again took out a grain of time, space dust, and swallowed it. Soon he had regained his youthful appearance. Gazing into the distance, he murmured, "It has been so long since I returned to the great Taikang province. I wonder how it fares now." With a light tap of his toes, he too soared into the air and departed. Time flowed onward and the scene shifted. Let us return to the front of Venerable Qian Jiao's bedchamber. Great Venerable Xing Yuan closed his eyes to sense something, then said with a tone of blessing, I hope both you and Zhenyan can survive this great tribulation. Venerable Qian Jiao snorted, her voice tinged with sourness. If you're so reluctant to part with your daughter, why not just follow her to the great Tai Kang province? That would save me from looking like the wicked woman who stole her mother's place. Great Venerable Xing Yuan gently wrapped an arm around her shoulders and spoke warmly, I have let my lady suffer. She has misunderstood you all this time. Venerable Qian Jiao's fragrant shoulders trembled slightly. Cradling Great Venerable Xing Yuan's face, her eyes softened, shedding their previous sharpness and bitterness. She whispered, the one who has truly suffered is you. To protect the three of us, outsiders from beyond the heavens, you let people believe you married me right after your wife's death. Your daughter, because of this, came to hate you and left for distant lands. Our son, Xingxing, has also tarnished your reputation and hindered your accumulation of virtue. Great Venerable Xing Yuan sighed softly, it matters not for me. I am a Great Venerable of the primordial Chaos Province. If sheltering you can secure a thread of heavenly fortune for our central lands, then even my death and the dissipation of my Tao would be worth it. It is only Zhenyan I pity. I hope that damned brat Fang Chen treats her well. Tears glistened in Venerable Qian Jiao's eyes as she leaned gently against his shoulder, her voice choked with emotion. You have sacrificed too much for the central lands. She, Xingxing, and the man within the chamber were not natives of the central lands. They were refugees who had come from beyond the heavens. Xingxing was not her son, and the middle-aged man was not some lover of hers. How could Great Venerable Xing Yuan remain completely unaware if a man were truly hidden in her bedchamber? Many years ago, they had sought refuge within the central lands. Great Venerable Xing Yuan took them in. Venerable Qian Jiao stayed by his side under the guise of his new wife, and Xingxing as his young son, receiving his protection. As a condition, the middle-aged man hiding in her bedchamber would lend a hand to the central lands should they face an insurmountable cataclysm. These were secrets, not even the great sages had been told. Thus, Great Venerable Xing Yuan took a new wife before his late wife's bones had even grown cold. Venerable Zhenyan, in her youth and unaware of the truth, left in a rage for the great Tai Kang province, disavowing Great Venerable Xing Yuan as her father. Great Venerable Xing Yuan, who so dearly loved his daughter, was instead met with her enmity. All these years, he must have been in great pain. Yet, for the sake of the central lands, he had never spoken of it to anyone. Great Venerable Xing Yuan raised his head to gaze at the heavens, his voice grave. I pray that all these nightmares may end with our generation. The scene shifts back to Fang Chen. After leaving the Sea of Texts Academy, Fang Chen sat upon a cloud, drew out the serrated sword, and gave it a few experimental swings. Apart from being remarkably sharp and capable of unleashing formidable sword kai, it seemed to possess no other special properties. He couldn't help but take out the violet sword for comparison, muttering to himself in puzzlement, both are supreme grade spirit swords, so why is there such a gap compared to the listening snow sword? The listening snow sword was not only equally sharp, but could also release a shocking cold aura, capable of freezing all things. The violet sword and the serrated sword lacked this ability. At that moment, a voice tinged with a slight chill suddenly rang out from above him. Because they lack an artifact spirit. That voice. Fang Chen's entire body stiffened. He looked up. There stood an exquisitely beautiful noblewoman in a black gown, glaring at him with a frosty expression. Fang Chen gave an awkward wave, forcing a smile. W, what a coincidence, running into you like this. Venerable Lion Jing sneered. Falling leaves return to their roots, the soul returns to its homeland. I have a friend who wants to borrow a sword. Is there a single truthful word in your mouth? After lending out the spirit sword, she had grown more and more suspicious. She had deliberately concealed herself, and guess what happened? The moment she hid, the decrepit, aged Fang Chen had reverted to his youth. From the first moment, she saw Fang Chen to their final parting. That damned scoundrel had been deceiving her the entire time. Fang Chen smiled bitterly and offered the serrated sword back. Then I'll return it to you, all right. Venerable Lion Jing grew even angrier, snapping sharply, Is this about the sword? How many times have you deceived me? Can you even count them all? Fang Chen held up a hand with fingers splayed, defending himself 5 times at most 5. Venerable Lion Jing laughed in exasperation. Are you complaining that's too few? A venerable at the 4th decay of heaven and man, tricked repeatedly by a mere nascent soul cultivator. No one would believe it if told. However, Fang Chen had even managed to fool the 5-star Giant King and Great Venerable Wu Gu. Great Venerable Wu Gu had been utterly duped to his death. Thinking of this, Venerable Lion Jing felt somewhat more balanced. Falling into this heaven-sent brat's schemes wasn't too shameful after all. She put on a stern face and demanded, "You damned brat, daring to deceive me like this, do you know what punishment you deserve?" Venerable Lion Jing darted forward, raising her hand as if to strike. Fang Chen hastily cried out, "Don't hit me. I have sage inscriptions on my body." The anticipated pain did not come. Venerable Lion Jing merely gave his shoulder a light pat. She sighed, her tone complex. "If I wanted to teach you a lesson, I would have done so back in the city. Why would I have followed you all this way? Although you deceived me, the fact remains that you saved me. Even Great Venerable Xing Yuan could not restore my domain, yet you accomplished it. You must have expended a heaven-defying amount of astronomical resources, so I still give you the serrated sword." Fang Chen rubbed his nose, glancing at her sideways as he muttered, "You old woman can be quite reasonable sometimes." Venerable Lion Jing laughed angrily and chided, "One moment it's venerable sister, the next it's old woman. From now on, you are forbidden to call me either. Change it to godmother." She had purposely followed Fang Chen here because she wanted to take him as her godson. Fang Chen had saved her several times. A single serrated sword was not enough to repay the debt of gratitude, so she intended to protect him from now on. Fang Chen shook his head firmly, refusing, "I don't want to." He had no desire to become entangled with the young Emperor Mountain. Venerable Lion Jing scoffed, "The first time in my life I consider taking a godson, and I get rejected. I insist on taking you." As she spoke, she teleported behind Fang Chen in an instant. Pinning him down on the cloud, she commanded, "Call me godmother." Fang Chen struggled. A son forced against his will is not sweet. Venerable Lion Jing burst into a laugh, "But it quenches thirst. Call me now, or I'll take back the serrated sword, and don't even think about getting the luck. Binding lock back either."
Tusk.
He had almost forgotten the binding lock was still on Venerable Lion Jing's person. After a moment of hesitation, Fang Chen reluctantly proposed a condition. "Then you must not mention to anyone at the young Emperor Mountain that you have a godson." Venerable Lion Jing found this request somewhat strange. She had wanted to advise the young emperor to look after this sworn younger brother, Fang Chen. But since Fang Chen made this request, he must have his own reasons. She nodded in agreement. "Very well, I will not speak of it publicly for now." Only then did Fang Chen, with a dark expression, awkwardly utter, "Godmother." Venerable Lion Jing poked his forehead and complained, "So many young venerables wish to call me godmother, and I disdain them, yet here you are disdaining me. I am a top-tier expert at the fourth decay of heaven and man." Grumbling, she took out the binding lock, and also retrieved a token wreathed in lightning, tossing both to Fang Chen. She instructed, "If you encounter danger, shatter this lightning token. I will come to your aid with the utmost speed. It's rare for me to take a godson. Don't you dare die on me." Fang Chen caught the two objects. Holding the warm lightning token, a faint warmth spread in his heart. A kindly smile appeared on Venerable Lion Jing's face. "Then this godmother will take her leave now. Take good care of yourself." Fang Chen cupped his hands. "You as well, godmother." Watching Venerable Lion Jing depart, Fang Chen stored away the lightning token and the binding lock. He pondered inwardly. As for Great Venerable Wu Tong's virtue, it would be best to wait and see for now. If there truly is no more suitable candidate, then we can send her to Great Venerable Xing Yuan without delay. Time flowed onward. Primordial Chaos State, the Astral Observatory. Just as Fang Chen alighted upon the central main island, a wave of sorrowful, ancient words washed over him. 10 years severed, life and death, a vast and boundless gulf. Not to think of you, yet never to forget, with nowhere to speak of this desolation. Jing Hong, it has been 10 years. Why can I still not forget you? Why were you so cruel, leaving me alone in this world? Startled, Fang Chen turned to seek the source of the voice. Upon a small, earthen mound, a youth in cyan robes, his long hair disheveled, leaned against an ancient grave, drinking alone. His eyes brimmed with tears, an ocean of grief within them. Fang Chen, too, felt that profound sorrow wash over him. From the voice alone, he had already guessed the man's identity. It was none other than the Grand Lebator who, within the heaven-touching pillar, had finally shattered the remnant soul of the great Venerable Wu Gu. He never imagined that this Grand Lebator, too, carried the regret of a love unattained. The difference was, his beloved lay in eternal slumber, right beside him. Fang Chen stepped forward and cupped his hands lightly. This junior, Fang Chen of the great state of Tai Kang, thanks the Grand Lebator for his life-saving grace. The Grand Lebator rose unsteadily, patted Fang Chen's shoulder, and sighed deeply. Vast mountains and rivers stretch before empty eyes, longing for what is far. Falling blossoms and stormy rain wound the spring all the more. Better to cherish the one before you. Young man, treasure those by your side. Do not wait until they are lost to be filled with regret. Hearing this, Fang Chen was deeply moved. This Grand Lebator was truly a man of profound and deep affection. The Grand Lebator tilted his head back for another swig of wine, then stumbled to the other side of the small mound. Facing another grave, he wailed sorrowfully once more. Zun Yan, 20 years. Why can I still not forget you? Do you know how I have lived through these years? Huh? Fang Chen froze. He walked to the crest of the small hill and looked down. On the other side of the hillock was an even more ancient grave. No. As the hillside stretched on, his gaze swept over a dense, sprawling field of graves. The Grand Lebator finished weeping before one grave, then swayed to the next, continuing his lamentations. Zai Ling, 30 years, why can I still not forget you? Maya, oh hi, 40 years, why can I still not forget you? Pan 50 years, why can I still not forget you? Fang Chen stared at the countless graves, a vein throbbing on his forehead. This damnable scoundrel, just how many women had he been deeply devoted to over 1,000 years? No wonder, they said, that aside from the Grand Lebator of the great state of Tai Kang, who seemed somewhat normal, none of the Grand Lebators from the other states were normal people. Fang Chen spat in disgust, rolled his eyes, and turned to leave. The scene shifted back to the great state of Tai Kang, inside a small town's library. Elviju closed her book on the human language, a cold sneer flashing in her eyes as she whispered, Fang Chen, you never imagined it, did you? I came to the Central Plains long ago. And what's more, I have long since mastered your Central Plains script. This time, you won't be able to fool me again. She rushed out of the library. Right in front of her, a small beast covered in brown fur, a broken bronze hairpin in its mouth, was galloping across the clouds. A group of half-giants was in hot pursuit behind it. What an adorable little beast! Elviju's eyes sparkled. With a flick of her sleeve, she swept the creature up and vanished, reappearing in the distance. She cradled the little beast in her arms, rubbing her cheek against its furry back again and again, and said softly, Little one, why were you being chased by a group of half-giants? Tears welled in the little Kirin's eyes as it spoke in human tongue. Woo, woo, my master is in danger. He told me to run back first. Master might be gone, woo, woo. Elviju looked astonished. It could actually speak the human tongue. Her fondness grew even stronger. She quickly comforted it. Don't be sad, I'll help you save your master. But first, I have one more matter to attend to. Little one, have you heard of a human named Fang Chen? Huh. The little Kirin blinked its eyes. Then its eyes rolled craftily before it nodded in a childish voice. MHM, I know him. I'll take you to find him, that way. It raised a tiny paw, pointing directly toward the direction of the astral observatory. Elviju did not doubt it. After all, how could such a cute, silly-looking little spirit beast possibly lie like that despicable Fang Chen? Back at the astral observatory, a small floating island trembled violently as space rippled around it. Blurg, blurg, blurg. Fang Chen staggered against a wall, vomiting once more. Wiping his mouth, he cursed bitterly. State-level teleportation arrays. Not even a dog would ride one. Just then, a voice, aged and unhurried, sounded leisurely behind him. Then you'd best make haste and ride them a few more times. Soon, the state-level teleportation arrays across the 9 states will be sealed. Fang Chen turned to look. At the entrance to the great hall, the Grand Lebator sat cross-legged, as if he had long anticipated his return. Fang Chen frowned and asked why. The Grand Lebator replied calmly, after the ancient giants descend, it is inevitable that some great states will fall. If the state-level arrays remain open, wouldn't the ancient giants who have secured their positions be able to swiftly reinforce the other states? Fang Chen pondered briefly, then nodded. That made sense. It was impossible for all 9 states to hold back the ancient giants. One, or even several, great states were bound to fall. The existence of the state-level arrays would instead become a springboard for the victorious ancient giants. Sealing them before the ancient giants arrived was a wise move. He couldn't help but think of Ling Shu. She had accompanied Liu Lai to the Spirit Serpent Mountain in the great state of 10,000 demons. He wondered if she had returned yet. Dismissing the thought, Fang Chen looked at the Grand Lebator seated at the entrance and asked in surprise, "Were you waiting for me?" The Grand Lebator waved his whisk and slowly rose to his feet, countering, "Who else would I be waiting for?" He fixed his gaze on Fang Chen and stated directly, "Let me see the violet silk princess." "Oh?" Fang Chen was somewhat taken aback. The Grand Lebator's information network was remarkably efficient to know of his encounters in the primordial chaos state so quickly. As he mused, he retrieved the mirror. Inside the mirror, the sealed violet silk princess stood with her arms crossed, glaring coldly at him. Fang Chen flicked the mirror's surface and teased, "What are you looking at? Keep staring and I'll sell you off." The Grand Lebator stepped forward, peering intently at the purple, skinned princess within the mirror. He lightly tapped the mirror's surface and closed his eyes. A moment later, his aged eyes slowly opened, as expected. He said gravely, "This maiden is no ordinary being." Fang Chen shook the mirror slightly, somewhat speechless. Wasn't that stating the obvious? Skin the color of violet, possessing the strength of a giant king, despite being only 80 zhang tall, and being the daughter of the giant emperor. How could she possibly be ordinary? The Grand Lebator asked, "What do you intend to do with her?" Fang Chen studied the violet silk princess in the mirror and said seriously, "Keep her by my side." Talking about selling her for profit was just to tease the princess. Her value was immeasurable. With her in hand, the great state of Tai Kang would gain another trump card to contend with the ancient giants. This was something 10 or even 100 wish papers could not accomplish. Hearing this, the Grand Lebator said meaningfully, "Treat her well." Fang Chen looked puzzled, almost thinking he had misheard. The Grand Lebator was actually advising him to be good to a female giant king. Could it be that this female giant, aside from being the daughter of the giant emperor, possesses some other extraordinary origin that makes harming her inadvisable? However, he had never entertained the notion of mistreating the violet princess to begin with. He simply nodded casually and said, "Understood, I shall take my leave for now." It had been a long time since he last returned to the Celestial Mechanism Pavilion. He wondered how they were all faring. "There, right there!" Suddenly, a voice, milky and childlike, rang out. Fang Chen recognized the voice as the little Killen's instantly. A flicker of joy had just appeared on his face as he looked towards the source. But upon seeing what was there, his expression froze slightly. He beheld a maiden of peerless beauty, clad in an emerald green gown, cradling the little Killen as she flashed towards him with teleportation, like speed. Her face was a mask of frost, her eyes blazing with fury and the thrill of finally finding her great nemesis. Who else could it be but LV Zhu? Heh, Fang Chen. LV Zhu's eyes spat fire, her entire being like a small volcano puffing lava as she snarled, "I've finally found you." Fang Chen was taken aback, asking in confusion, "How did you manage to find this place?" He looked around somewhat bewilderedly. This was the Imperial Astrological Observatory. It was the seat of the most powerful expert in the great state of Tai Kang, the central command in the war against the ancient giants. For LV Zhu, a member of the ancient giants, to walk right into the lion's den. What kind of death wish was this? LV Zhu sneered repeatedly, stroking the little Killen in her arms as she declared triumphantly, "Of course, it was this adorable, kind-hearted, and justice-seeking little spirit sent who showed me the way. Fang Chen, oh Fang Chen, just look at yourself. Your deeds are so heinous even a mere spirit beast couldn't stand by. Knowing I sought vengeance against you, it led me here without a second thought. You, a man despised by both man and beast alike. Prepare to die." Fang Chen looked at the little Killen and immediately understood. He couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy for LV Zhu, deceived by him in the heavenly realm. Coming to the central plains, only to be tricked again by the little Killen. Fang Chen cleared his throat lightly and called out, "Little Killen, come back now." The little Killen, nestled in LV Zhu's embrace, had been waiting impatiently. It instantly teleported through space, reappearing on Fang Chen's shoulder. Its furry little head nuzzled his cheek affectionately as it whimpered, "Master, I thought I'd never see you again." Fang Chen retrieved the 9 phoenixes paying homage to the Dao hairpin from its mouth and chuckled. "Your master is blessed with immense fortune and a hardy fate. I'm not so easy to kill." "Master?" LV Zhu was dumbstruck, her face a picture of bewilderment. This little spirit beast she had encountered was actually Fang Chen's spirit pet. Then why had it led her here to seek vengeance against Fang Chen? She couldn't help but begin to survey her surroundings warily, asking hesitantly, "This place is..." Only then did the Grand Labationer, who had been standing quietly to the side, speak calmly, uttering 3 words, the Imperial Astrological Observatory. Asterisk thump, asterisk. Elviju's heart sank like a stone. She felt as if her chest had been struck a heavy blow. Her vision darkened for a moment. The heart of the great state of Tai Kang. This was akin to a human waltzing right into the command tent of the 5-star giant king of the Black Sun dynasty. She looked towards the Grand Labationer, who wore a faint smile and swallowed hard. Her voice tight, Elviju asked, "And you are?" The Grand Labationer replied serenely, "The Grand Labationer." Asterisk thump thump asterisk. Elviju's body swayed unsteadily. She had actually run straight into the presence of the most dangerous figure in the great state of Tai Kang. No wonder that little spirit beast had brought her here. It had tricked her into walking into a trap. Thinking this, a suffocating pressure filled her chest, and she nearly coughed up a mouthful of blood. In the heavenly realm, she had been led around by the nose by Fang Chen. Descending to the mortal realm, she had been tricked again by Fang Chen's little spirit beast. Trembling, she pointed a shaky finger at Fang Chen and the little Qilin, her teeth grinding audibly. Elviju roared in fury, "You shameless master and servant pair." The little Qilin lifted a tiny paw and pointed at Fang Chen in protest. The little Qilin argued in its defense, "But I did lead you to Fang Chen, didn't I?" Elviju was so enraged her chest heaved, her words stumbling over themselves. "You, I." She found herself momentarily at a loss for words. All right, now was not the time to quibble with these 2 master tricksters. What she should be thinking about was how to preserve her own life. A flicker of cunning passed through her eyes. Elviju straightened her back and assumed a solemn expression. Elviju declared in a clear voice, "Grand Labationer, to be frank with you, I am here as an envoy of the 5-star giant king to negotiate with your great state of Tai Kang." Who didn't know how to lie. If Fang Chen could slip away from the clutches of the 5-star giant king, then she, Elviju, could certainly escape from the hands of the Grand Labationer. HMPH. A playful glint appeared in Fang Chen's eyes as he asked leisurely. Fang Chen said, "Negotiate about what? Let's hear it." Elviju's crystalline eyes darted as she immediately picked up the thread. Elviju stated, It's about Wang Chengxiao. Return the weapons and machinery from the armory, and we will release Wang Chengxiao." Using Wang Chengxiao as a bargaining chip was not without reason. Wang Chengxiao had been causing chaos all over the heavenly realm, provoking the pursuit and wrath of many tribal powerhouses. Some had even involved giant kings personally taking action. But just like when he had mysteriously escaped from the 5-star giant king before, his luck was simply too heaven-defying. No matter what dire straits he found himself in, he always managed to escape against all odds. Such a monstrously talented individual must be an extremely important figure in the Central Plains. They would surely welcome him back with open arms, right? Thinking this, Elviju felt greatly reassured. She lifted her chin and puffed out her chest, assuming the full bearing of an official envoy sent to negotiate. Elviju declared, "If you agree, I will return immediately and bring Wang Chengxiao down. We exchange the man for the goods." Release Wang Chengxiao back. That bastard could rot in the heavenly realm for all he cared. Fang Chen looked at Elviju, the playful amusement on his face deepening. What Elviju didn't know was that her elder sister, Hongxiu, had long since informed Fang Chen of Wang Chengxiao's situation in the heavenly realm. Otherwise, he might have actually been fooled by this girl's act. Fang Chen asked in a leisurely, drawn-out manner, "And what if I refuse?" Elviju was taken aback inwardly. Such a formidable figure as Wang Chengxiao, and the Central Plains didn't want him back. She shifted her gaze to the Grand Labationer, her tone carrying a note of challenge. Elviju asked, "Does Fang Chen's word truly represent your great state of Tai Kang?" The Grand Labationer, a smile on his face, waved his horsetail whisk and turned away. The Grand Labationer said airily, "You husband and wife can discuss such matters yourselves. Why ask me?" Clearly, he had recognized Elviju as the Asura maiden Fang Chen had tricked into becoming his little wife back in the heavenly realm. Elviju's face instantly flushed crimson. Had the news of her being tricked into becoming Fang Chen's wife already spread throughout the great state of Tai Kang? Suppressing her rising anger, she forced an air of composure. Elviju said, "If you are unwilling, then I shall not insist." Fang Chen spoke up with a beaming smile. yet his tone brooked no argument. Fang Chen stated, "Who said you are permitted to leave?" Panic flared in LV Zhu's heart, but she put on a stern face. LV Zhu snorted, HMPH, "If I don't return, Wang Chengxi is as good as dead." She refused to believe that the great state of Taikang would truly be willing to let Wang Chengxi perish. Fang Chen's smile deepened, his tone light and relaxed. Fang Chen said, "That would be wonderful. I can't wait for him to die sooner." Lu Zhu was utterly astonished. What's going on? Is the great province of Taking truly so indifferent to that monstrous fiend? She began to panic slightly, straightening her posture and invoking reason. Lu Zhu declared, "Very well. When two states are at war, they do not slay the envoy. That is a rule of your central plains, is it not? Surely you would not execute a messenger." She hadn't spent these past days reading Central Plains literature in vain. Wasn't this knowledge coming in useful now? Fang Chen couldn't help but laugh out loud. In the past, it was always him facing formidable enemies, racking his brains to escape peril. He harbored a deep-seated loathing for such acts of the strong bullying the weak. Now, seeing Lu Zhu on tenterhooks, trying to bluff her way through, he instead felt a sense of ease. So, it wasn't that he despised the strong bullying the weak. Rather, he despised being the one who ended up as the punching bag. Lu Zhu glared at him, annoyed. "What are you laughing at? Did I say something wrong?" Fang Chen chuckled. "First, we are at war between two realms, not two states. Second, Wang Chengxiao fled long ago, and you are no envoy." Lu Zhu was startled. "You know about the situation in the celestial realm." Immediately, she realized the truth and grew furious. Lu Zhu fumed. "So you were just toying with me earlier?" Lu Zhu exploded with rage, shouting, "Fang Chen!" Her smug, clever scheming had, in the end, been completely manipulated by Fang Chen, who held her in the palm of his hand. Fang Chen grinned. "Calm down. Whatever you do, don't curse at me or hit me." Lu Zhu shot a glance at the Grand Wine Sacrificer, who had his back to her, a flash of anger in her eyes. In an instant, she appeared before Fang Chen, her fist lashing out towards his detestable face as she cried out. Lu Zhu roared furiously, "You damned liar! Do you have any idea how I've suffered these past days? The moment I close my eyes, I see your hateful face. I've torn you to shreds 10,000 times in my heart, 10,000 times go to hell." But just as her fist was about to connect, the sage's inscription activated as expected. And Lu Zhu, without any surprise, fell victim to it. The fist aimed at him, instead hooked around his neck. Her lips planted a kiss on Fang Chen's cheek. Fang Chen, Chinese letter, took the opportunity to wrap his arm around her waist, teasingly. Fang Chen said, "Wifey, you love me as much as ever I see." Lu Zhu came to her senses and let out a shriek. Lu Zhu screamed, "Ah, you damned rogue, what did you do to me? Husband, Lu Zhu likes you so much." Immediately after, her voice turned furious once more. Lu Zhu raged, "Ah, what's wrong with me? Die." Followed by the soft sound of another kiss. Lu Zhu's voice became tender and coquettish again. "Moi, ah, you dog, husband." The Grand Wine Sacrificer's mouth twitched. He truly couldn't bear to listen any longer. He turned and swept his horsetail whisk, sending a wisp of clear kai that coiled around Lu Zhu, binding her. The Grand Wine Sacrificer sighed softly. Even the Heaven's Ice Age can misjudge sometimes. The Heaven's Ice Age had inscribed Fang Chen with the characters, originally intending to bring harmony to his household. Who could have known Fang Chen would twist it into such a farce? Whether you were an ancient giant, a human, or an asura, regardless of age or stature, all were subdued by Fang Chen's use of the inscription until they had no temper left. If the Heaven's Ice Age knew, he'd probably charge back from that battlefield to hastily erase the inscription, lest it tarnish the illustrious reputation he had built over a millennium. Confirming that Lu Zhu was bound by the clear kai, her body immobilized, only able to glare at him with fiery eyes. Fang Chen finally released her, reaching out to pinch her puffed-up cheeks. Fang Chen laughed heartily. "Since my wife has come 1,000 miles to see me off, this husband will gladly accept you." He retrieved a talisman that Hong Xiu had once given him. Sealed within it was the bloodline talent of memory erasure that Hong Xiu had used. As a 4, Crown Asura King, erasing the memories of a 2, Crown Asura King like Lu Zhu should pose no problem. Lu Zhu clearly recognized the origin of the talisman. Her almond-shaped eyes widened in even greater fury. Fang Chen had actually joined forces with that wretched woman. She felt an immense sense of betrayal. She had known Fang Chen first, yet in the end, Hong Xiu had snatched him away and was now inciting him to harm her. In the peak of her rage, she clenched her teeth. Focusing her mind, a thumb-sized fragment of white bone flew from within her robes. The bone emanated a loathsome aura. The moment it appeared, the clear Kai restraining Lu Zhu was corrupted, turning into murky black mist before scattering apart. Lu Zhu was instantly freed. As she teleported backward, she pointed frantically at Fang Chen, shrieking sharply. Lu Zhu cried, paralyzed. The Grand Wine Sacrificer's expression shifted slightly. He murmured the Giant Emperor's curse. In the blink of an eye, as the curse power within the white bone began to radiate outwards, the strands of the Grand Wine Sacrificer's horsetail whisk suddenly spread open from his palm, shooting forth like a spider's web. It enveloped all the radiating curse power. The snow-white whisk visibly darkened, finally rotting into mud. The white bone, now devoid of the curse power that had clung to it, crumbled into dust and scattered. Fang Chen's heart pounded with fear. For a fleeting moment, he felt as if he had plunged into a pool of blood. That extreme surge of negative emotions made his breath catch in his throat. Fang Chen scowled, saying irritably, "You little brat, you actually carried something so dangerous on you." He had almost capsized in a tiny ditch. The Grand Wine Sacrificer looked up, but Lu Zhu had already vanished from sight. A thoughtful expression appeared on his face as he said slowly, "That curse was not prepared for you." Fang Chen pondered briefly and understood. Lu Zhu's descent to the mortal realm to seek revenge on him was secondary. Her primary target was to eliminate the one capable of moving the heaven, connecting Black Pillar. He was the true bane of the ancient giants. And thanks to Fang Chen's repeated embellishments, the celestial realm now knew who the person who moved the pillar was. That person was the Heart Calamity Venerable. The Giant Emperor's curse power was originally prepared for the Heart Calamity Venerable. Yet, in her desperation to escape, Lu Zhu had used it on Fang Chen. Fang Chen grumbled, "What a wasteful woman, such a formidable treasure, meant for the Heart Calamity Venerable, and you use it on your own husband instead." The Grand Wine Sacrificer said, "You'd better think about how to guard against her retaliation. Unless you remain within the Imperial Astrology Bureau, you won't be safe anywhere." Having suffered such a monumental loss, would Lu Zhu let it go easily? And with her strength as a two, crown Asura king within the entire great province of Taking, only the Grand Wine Sacrificer could subdue her with ease. Fang Chen put away the memory, racing talisman, his tone relaxed. Fang Chen said, "It's fine. She wasted the Giant Emperor's curse, which could have guaranteed the death of the Heart Calamity Venerable. Now, the outcome is uncertain. If she fails to complete her mission, she won't fare well upon her return. Therefore, she will first focus on killing the Heart Calamity Venerable to ensure the mission's success. Only then will she have the mind to settle accounts with me. In other words, as long as the Heart Calamity Venerable lives, I can prance about as I please." Listening to Fang Chen's analysis, the Grand Wine Sacrificer rubbed his temples. He almost felt a pang of sympathy for Lu Zhu. Lu Zhu's every thought was completely grasped by Fang Chen. To be an enemy of Fang Chen, one must possess a heart of immense fortitude. Otherwise, even if I weren't beaten to death by him, I'd be angered to death. The Great Wine Sacrificer said, "All right, then do as you please." He turned and left, and before departing, he reminded without looking back. The Great Wine Sacrificer said, additionally, "The great province of Tai Kang has been quite turbulent lately. Be careful." Fang Chen frowned and asked, "Is it that demonic path female venerable and the half giants causing trouble?" The Great Wine Sacrificer did not turn his head. His voice carried over. The Great Wine Sacrificer said, "Both." Fang Chen gave a slight nod, his voice grave. "Thank you for the reminder, Great Wine Sacrificer." Watching the Great Wine Sacrificer depart, Fang Chen patted the little Killin's head before asking, "How did you run into Lu Zhu?" The little Killin gestured with its short legs, chittering and squeaking as it recounted the events with grievance. Fang Chen's eyes suddenly turned icy, and he said coldly, "The half giants found you and gave chase, these lingering specters. When the opportunity arises, I will avenge you." Only then did the little Killin burrow into the spatial mirror within Fang Chen's embrace. Fang Chen did not linger. He immediately activated a teleportation array and returned to the underground palace. Not long after, he soared back to the Celestial Mechanism Pavilion. This outing was not long, yet it was fraught with many perils. So much so that upon seeing the gate tower of the Celestial Mechanism Pavilion, he felt a strange sense of unfamiliarity. as if returning home after a long absence. He thought to himself, I wonder if everyone has digested the resources from the heavenly mountain battlefield, and whether their cultivation has improved. With a thread of anticipation, he stepped into the celestial mechanism pavilion. A sudden roar shook Fang Chen's body, causing him to tremble. Widening his eyes, he exclaimed in shock, what's going on? Raising his gaze, he saw the West Sea Prince, carrying a bundle, stomping angrily towards the mountain gate. Qian stood on the steps with hands on her hips, roaring fiercely, If you dare step out, this old man won't let you come back today. Get back here. The West Sea Prince snorted with a dark face, his steps quickening instead. Upon reaching the mountain gate, he noticed Fang Chen, and tears instantly rolled down, wailing piteously, Righteous Father, I've suffered so much. Qian's expression changed swiftly. She hurried over and said sweetly and gently, Father-in-law is back. Fang Chen looked at Qian with an unfamiliar gaze. Was this really the lively and adorable Qian he had seen that day? How had marriage changed her into a different person? That earlier shout of this old man is Mount Shu had even stunned him. He coughed dryly and asked, Are you two quarreling? The West Sea Prince, tears in his tiger-like eyes, said aggrievedly, Righteous Father, life is unbearable. I merely wanted to invite the women from my West Sea days to our wedding feast. What's wrong with that? Not only did this tyrannical dragon beat me up, but she also demanded I cut ties with all of them. Forced into a corner, I had no choice but to run away from home. Fang Chen felt veins throbbing on his forehead. Reserving a separate table for ex-lovers at the wedding feast, no wonder Qian was angry. However, Qian's public scolding was also inappropriate. Men, after all, value their pride. He patted the West Sea Prince's shoulder and advised, Now that you're married, you should sever ties with past women. He was about to admonish Qian to leave some face for the West Sea Prince in public in the future. But the West Sea Prince grew even more aggrieved, exclaiming, Righteous Father, it's easy for you to talk. Telling me to break up with those widows, why don't you break up with everyone except Fairy Yun Sheng? Count them yourself, how many women do you have? Flirting in the heavens, beauties on earth, 2 stunning widows in the sea, and a proper wife underground. You've got them all covered everywhere. Why don't you break up with them? Fang Chen's temples throbbed, and he gritted his teeth. You know quite a lot, don't you? He approached Qian, took out a brand new spiked club, and handed it to her solemnly. From now on, if you can use force, don't waste words. Father-in-law supports you. Qian's eyes lit up. She grabbed the club joyfully. Thank you, father-in-law. I'll go beat his exes to death right now. Fang Chen glanced sideways at the wailing West Sea Prince, then satisfied, stepped into the celestial mechanism pavilion. The pavilion remained quiet and deserted. Everyone was still diligently cultivating in seclusion. He felt a bit unaccustomed. Previously, everyone would swarm to greet him upon his return, but now not a soul was in sight. Yet this was good. It meant everyone was seriously cultivating. In just over a month, the ancient giants would arrive. Every bit of cultivation improvement meant a greater chance of survival. Fang Chen did not disturb them and headed towards the meditation chamber, intending to enter seclusion for a few days to properly acclimate to his recently broken-through realms. Just as he neared the chamber, a flash of jade, green light flickered towards him. The newcomer was Bai Luo, her face lit up with joy as she asked with concern, Brother Fan, did you encounter any trouble venturing into the great desolate province, the gathering place of demonic cultivators? Fang Chen smiled. It was fine. Everyone was quite welcoming. He wondered if the atmosphere in the great desolate province had shifted back after his departure. Bai Luo relaxed. That's good. Then she pursed her lips, looking as if she wanted to speak but hesitated. Fang Chen asked, Sister Bai, are you facing trouble? Speak freely. The celestial mechanism pavilion is also your home. No need to stand on ceremony. Bai Luo found it difficult to speak. Her eyes filled with deep remorse, and she whispered, Brother Fan, if I tell you, please don't be angry with Huang Quan. Huang Quan, Fang Chen felt a pang of guilt. He had forgotten Huang Quan at the heavenly mountain battlefield and didn't know how to explain it to Bai Luo and the little tiger. If something happened to Huang Quan, his sin would be great. So, how could he dare be angry? His expression unnatural, he said, Sister Bai, go ahead, I'm listening. Bai Luo hesitated several times before saying, Huang Quan, influenced by my descent into madness, forcibly violated a female nascent soul cultivator from the great province of Taikang. Fang Chen's eyelids twitched violently. Could it be Fairy Yun Sheng and the others? Instantly, sparks of fury flashed in his eyes. If so, Huang Quan deserved death 10,000 times over to atone for his sin. Sensing Fang Chen's anger, Bai Luo quickly explained, it was a woman from an external sect, not Yun Shang and the others. Oh, Fang Chen's tense heart eased a bit. But he was still very angry. After all, Huang Quan had harmed an innocent woman, that guy good at nothing, first in causing trouble. Seeing the pleading look in Bai Luo's eyes, Fang Chen suppressed his rage and asked, which sect does this woman belong to? He planned to speak with her first. If she was willing to let Huang Quan take responsibility, then Bai Luo would have to endure having another sister. If she felt deeply insulted, then Fang Chen would have no choice but to expel Huang Quan, this black sheep, from the Celestial Mechanism Pavilion. No leniency, Bai Luo worriedly said. She is the female sect master of a mid-tier sect. Hearing this, Fang Chen's heart sank. A sect master capable of sustaining a mid-tier sect must be a figure of some standing in the great province of Tai Kang. Would she ever consent to being a concubine for a tiger demon, Huang Quan could not be protected. Expulsion from the Celestial Mechanism Pavilion was inevitable. Reading Fang Chen's expression, Bai Luo understood his decision and revealed deep bitterness. She said softly, I inquired about the woman's sect. It's called the Constellation Palace, with an extremely upright reputation. A proper and respectable sect. Huang Quan has harmed a very innocent sect master. Fang Chen sighed. Indeed, he has committed an unforgivable. He suddenly froze, and remained frozen for 3 full breaths. Had he just heard a strange name? He urgently asked, Sister Bai, did you say that sect is called the Constellation Palace? Bai Luo grew more anxious. Brother Fan, do you know them? Could it be that the Constellation Palace was Fang Chen's ally? Fang Chen pressed. The one Huang Quan violated is the palace master of the Constellation Palace. Bai Luo didn't dare meet Fang Chen's eyes. She lowered her head in shame and gave a slight nod. Hiss, Fang Chen drew in a sharp breath. The Constellation Palace master wasn't that the hellish desolate beast in disguise. The real Constellation Palace Master had been devoured by the hellish, desolate beast before the heavenly mountain battlefield even opened. Huang Quan had actually breached the hellish, desolate beast's heavenly gate. At this moment, all his negative impressions of Huang Quan vanished like smoke. Arrogant, self-righteous, hot, tempered, none of that mattered anymore. His current evaluation of Huang Quan consisted of only 2 words, peerless. Throughout the entire great province of Tai Kang, the entire Central Plains, even the Heavenly Realm, the Central Plains, and the Netherworld, across all 3 realms, he was peerless. Yes, none could surpass him. Fang Chen asked urgently, Sister Bai, where is my brother Huang? He was now eager to meet this 3-realm peerless Huang Quan. Bai Luo's mood sank, realizing that Huang Quan might face punishment. Given Fang Chen's character, he would never tolerate such a great evildoer by his side. At the very least, Huang Quan would be expelled from the Celestial Mechanism Pavilion. Thus, she and the little tiger would either leave with Huang Quan, or Huang Quan would depart alone, breaking their family apart. She sighed softly, I'll take you to find him. The 2 arrived before a meditation chamber. From within the door came waves of sensual sounds, rising and falling like tides, the melody swirling and stirring the soul. Fang Chen rubbed his nose. Fortunately, when he and Yun Shang were intimate, he had set up a soundproof barrier. Otherwise, it would be like this moment. Even Bai Luo was too embarrassed to listen. Blushing, she kicked the stone door and shouted, Brother Fan is back. Silence suddenly fell within the chamber. After a rustling of clothes being donned, the stone door creaked open. Huang Quan emerged, holding up his pants, sweat dripping from his brow. Seeing Fang Chen, he said with deep guilt, Fang, Deputy Pavilion Master Fang. Previously, he would have looked down his nose and called Fang Chen by name directly. Now, even his form of address had changed, revealing a deep sense of guilt. This indirectly indicated that his nature wasn't entirely wicked. Fang Chen glanced inside the chamber and asked, Is she willing to follow you? If not, how can you still be intimate with Huang Quan? Huang Quan scratched his head, sheepishly saying, Not yet, I'm still persuading her. If she doesn't agree, I'll just do it one more time. After 7 or 8 days of effort, she's not resisting as much as before. Vice Pavilion Master Fang, just give me a little more time. I promise I'll convince her. I won't cause any trouble for your Celestial Secrets Pavilion. PFFT, Fang Chen nearly spat out a mouthful of old blood. Is that persuasion? That's conquest by force. Creak. The palace mistress of the Stellar Palace struggled to crawl out of the secret chamber. Her snow-white body was covered in bruises, her face haggard, her frame emaciated. At this moment, she lacked even the strength to stand and walk, only able to crawl forth. With a voice that should have been as smooth and melodious as pearls and jade, but now was coarse and raspy like a broken bellows, she hoarsely croaked, "Kill me, please." Black lines seemed to appear on Fang Chen's forehead. No wonder the hell-desolate beast wasn't resisting. It had been ravaged beyond human recognition, left with no strength to fight back, right? Recalling the past, when the hell-desolate beast first made its appearance, how majestic and awe-inspiring it was. It stirred up the entire continent and the four seas. Huang Quan clasped his fists and bowed, pleading, "Vice Pavilion Master Fang, please give me a little more time. I guarantee I'll persuade her." A shiver of disgust ran down Fang Chen's spine. He waved his hand dismissively. "Do as you like if you fancy it, just don't regret it later." He thought to himself, if Huang Quan knew that the palace mistress of the Stellar Palace, whom he had been ravaging to the heavens and earth, was actually a hell-desolate beast, his desire to die would probably be even stronger than the beast's. So be it, let the two of them meet the challenge head on, with their long spears and short clubs, striving for perfection through refinement. Fang Chen paid them no further mind, and turned to step into the secret chamber. Among the hell-desolate beast's scattered belongings, he found the spatial storage artifact. Fang Chen held it before the hell-desolate beast and said coldly the incantation. The hell-desolate beast clearly recognized Fang Chen. With a bitter expression, it trembled. "I'll tell you, but you must kill me." As it recited the incantation, the restrictions on the spatial storage artifact shattered in response. Fang Chen swept it with his divine sense, and his face immediately lit up with joy. A vial of golden true spirit blood suddenly appeared before his eyes. This was precisely the true spirit blood of Liu, Lai's mother, the golden serpent matriarch. This blood had been extracted by Mount Sanking and later stolen entirely by the hell-desolate beast. Now, after twists and turns, it had finally fallen into Fang Chen's hands. With the aid of this blood, Fang Chen could complete the cultivation of the third phase of the Brahma Saint True Spirit Art. According to the art's description, once the third phase was mastered, the practitioner's physical body would become so formidable as to have no equal within the nascent soul realm. Coupled with the newly acquired serrated sword, the Great Profound Sword Array now possessed 3 spirit swords, enough to unleash the power of a minor completion sword array. Fang Chen couldn't help but feel anticipation. Just how far could his strength reach? At that moment, the hell-desolate beast, in its guise as the palace mistress of the Stellar Palace, reached out and grabbed Fang Chen's pant leg, pleading in despair, "Kill me." How could Huang Quan bear to part with her? He scooped her up under his arm and, with an awkward laugh, headed back into the secret chamber. "Vice Pavilion Master Fang, I'll get busy first." The stone door slammed shut with a rumble, sealing the hell-desolate beast's despairing cries inside. Bai Luo covered her face, unable to bear the sight, and whispered, "Little brother Fan, if you want to kick him out, go ahead. I won't blame you." Having such a husband also made her feel ashamed. But Fang Chen just shrugged and laughed. "Why expel him? For such an invincible man, I have nothing but admiration." Bai Luo wore an expression of astonishment and bewilderment. She recognized every single word Fang Chen said, but strung together, she couldn't understand them at all. Nevertheless, this was ultimately a joyous occasion. Their family of 3 wouldn't have to be separated. Bai Luo said with pleasant surprise, "Thank you, little brother Fan." As Fang Chen walked towards the secret chamber, he inquired about her recent episodes of madness and the recent situation at the Celestial Secrets Pavilion. Fang Chen suddenly halted, exclaiming in surprise, "What did you say?" "Dharma Seal Vajra has left the monastic life, and he came looking for me with his beloved." Bai Luo nodded and produced a jade slip. Everyone was in seclusion at the time. I was the one who received him. He said he wanted to travel across the 9 provinces, mountains, and rivers with his beloved. You are one of his few friends, and he wished to see you before leaving. Unable to find you, he left this jade slip. Fang Chen was stunned, speechless for a long time. That Dharma Seal Vajra, so devout in his Buddhist faith, had actually left the monastic life. He took the jade slip, his heart filled with curiosity. What message would Dharma Seal Vajra have left for him? Fang Chen pressed the jade slip to his forehead. A wisp of Dharma Seal Vajra's unique, clear, slow, and detached voice resonated in his mind. "Brother Fang, upon seeing this jade slip, please leave the taking great province Dietly, the Bodhisattva intends to personally guide you towards enlightenment." Bodhisattva. Fang Chen's scalp prickled. The Taking Great Province had 4 spirit-severing cultivators and 1 bodhisattva. This bodhisattva was the first Fang Chen had learned of, yet he had never faced him directly to this day. The impression the bodhisattva gave Fang Chen had always been just one thing unfathomable. His true appearance unknown, his character unknown, even his strength was an unknown variable. Facing the other 4 spirit-severing cultivators, Fang Chen no longer felt the suffocating pressure he had upon first meeting the Venerable. The bodhisattva was the sole exception. Bai Luo noticed the change in Fang Chen's expression and asked with concern, "Little brother Fan, have you encountered trouble?" Fang Chen put away the jade slip and shook his head. "Let's just say there's no immediate danger for now." The heaven connecting black pillar was still near the White Horse Temple. The bodhisattva wouldn't move against him for the time being. But once the heaven connecting black pillar was moved, that might change. A sense of urgency spontaneously arose within Fang Chen. Currently, the Taking Great Province not only had the bodhisattva, but also the Heart Sin Venerable, the Demoness, and even Lu Zhu. They could arrive at the Celestial Secrets Pavilion at any moment, and with his current strength, he was still insufficient to deal with them. Fang Chen thought to himself, "I must improve my strength quickly." Lost in thought, he arrived before the secret chamber. Fang Chen turned his head and instructed, "Sister Bai, you should return as well. From now on, try to go out less. You are already an 8-aperture nascent soul cultivator. You can no longer roam the outside world freely." Bai Luo's face flushed red. Her recent bout of madness had indeed caused a great disaster. Filled with remorse, she leaned close to Fang Chen and lowered her voice. "If you have any women you can't handle, bring them before me. I'll help you cook the rice before it's ready." Having said that, she covered her mouth, stifling a laugh, and ran off. Fang Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Shaking his head, he muttered to himself, "Sister Bai's madness is a bit against the rules." He couldn't help but think of his own Tao. "I have reached the 7-aperture nascent soul stage, yet my Tao remains unclear." Fang Chen frowned lightly and entered the secret chamber. He carefully inspected the surroundings and, confirming everything was in order, closed the stone door. Sitting cross-legged, Fang Chen took out the heart, questioning crystal to reflect upon himself. "I wonder if, after these experiences, a new Tao will manifest." The crystal's light swirled, and within the mirror, an image of Fang Chen appeared. The mirror Fang Chen waved his sleeve, and the magnificent mountains and rivers before him were torn apart like a scroll, vanishing into nothingness. Simultaneously, large cracks appeared on Fang Chen's own physical body. Fang Chen's pupils trembled, the Tao of space. "This must stem from my comprehension of the space origin. The power of this domain is exceptionally terrifying. Used skillfully, it might not be inferior to the time origin of the Violet Tassel Princess. But its drawback is also severe. While tearing apart heaven and earth, one also suffers the backlash of spatial forces." Having observed the Taos cultivated by others, Fang Chen understood long ago that a domain was a double-edged sword. While employing a domain, one must also endure its effects. The simplest example was the truth, speaking venerable. She could force others to speak the truth, but the price she paid was that she herself could never utter a falsehood. Otherwise, her domain would be damaged, and in severe cases, it could even collapse on the spot. The Tao of space before him was the same. To unleash the power of the spatial domain, one must also possess the ability to withstand the damage of spatial forces. If not, a damaged domain would backlash and injure the user. With Fang Chen's current physical body, he was far from reaching a level where he could fearlessly withstand the invasion of spatial forces. Therefore, this Tao of space might not be suitable for him. Fang Chen sighed bitterly. What Tao should I walk, after all? After a long while, he shook his head. Forget it. I'll cultivate the great profound sword array and the Brahma Saint True Spirit art first. I'll take my time later to ponder which Tao to walk for my spirit severing path. Several days later, by the moon washing lake. The truth-speaking Venerable sat alone before the spirit pond, gazing at the Yin-Yuan spirit fish swimming back and forth within, slightly lost in thought. She seemed to be pondering something, sometimes tightly pursing her red lips, sometimes covering her face and stamping her feet. Her demeanor frightened the fish in the pond, sending them scattering in panic. Master Dust Mirror quietly arrived behind her and asked calmly, "Master, are you thinking of Fang Chen?" The truth-speaking Venerable's delicate body trembled slightly, but she did not answer. Instead, she asked, "How has your cultivation been recently?" Master Dust Mirror replied indifferently, "Quite well. And you, Master, have you punished Fang Chen?" Venerable Zhenyan frowned. Ever since that time when Superior Man Chen Jing discovered her in bed with Fang Chen, he had been mentioning Fang Chen's name constantly, in every conversation. Without turning her head, her tone turned slightly cold. "My affairs are none of your concern." This trip to sever Fang Chen's route of life had not only failed, but she had been taken advantage of by him twice. Once he saw everything, another time he touched everything. What was even more unspeakable was that her father had even bestowed upon them a betrothal agreement. Thinking of all this drove her utterly mad. Superior Man Chen Jing, however, said, "So, it seems there isn't one. Master, you keep saying Fang Chen is detestable, but when you actually found him, you couldn't bring yourself to act. Master, when you shared a bed with him, was it truly amnesia?" Venerable Zhenyan's gaze suddenly turned sharp and severe. The events of that day were already a thorn in her heart. Not only did Chen Jing deliberately bring it up, he even slandered her, implying she had feigned amnesia to climb into Fang Chen's bed. Already unsettled and troubled by the events in the primordial chaos prefecture, her heart now blazed with even greater fury. Venerable Zhenyan casually flicked her sleeve. Superior Man Chen Jing was blasted away on the spot, crashing heavily into a stone pillar. The stone pillar cracked with a web of fissures, and Chen Jing's mouth was filled with blood. Only then did Venerable Zhenyan realize she had lost control of her emotions. But it was too late. She could only force an air of authority and shout sharply, "How dare you? How dare you speak to your master in such a manner?" In the past, Chen Jing had been so respectful towards her. But ever since discovering her with Fang Chen, he had slowly changed. Chen Jing struggled to his feet, wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth. A trace of bitterness flickered in his eyes. "For the sake of a single Fang Chen, Master actually struck me. Fine, I understand. I am merely a disciple. How could I compare in importance to Masters? Bedfellow." Venerable Zhenyan reached out a hand, wanting to explain. But after everything that had happened in the primordial chaos prefecture, the relationship between her and Fang Chen was already a tangled mess impossible to clarify, even with 100 mouths. Seeing that his master didn't even offer an explanation, the chill in Chen Jing's heart deepened. Gazing at his master's graceful, peerlessly beautiful figure, the flames of jealousy raged uncontrollably within Chen Jing's heart. Fang Chen had stolen his half of the soul, in lightning divine needle, and stolen his younger sister, Nangong Xiaoyan. Was that not enough? Now, he even wanted to steal his master away. He could disregard the first two, for he had willingly relinquished them. But Venerable Zhenyan was his. By what right could Fang Chen take her? A flash of malevolence crossed Chen Jing's eyes. His voice turned heavy. "This disciple has emerged from seclusion to request permission to travel and gain experience. I ask for Master's approval." A pang of guilt struck Venerable Zhenyan's heart. She whispered, "You, take care." Chen Jing nodded. "This disciple takes his leave." Watching as Chen Jing activated a teleportation array and vanished into the distance, Venerable Zhenyan clutched her forehead in bitter frustration, murmuring to herself, "Fang Ch. N, it's all your fault. Look what you've done to our once harmonious master-disciple relationship." At that very moment, Venerable Zhenyan suddenly noticed something odd about the spirit pool before her. A breeze blew towards her face, yet the ripples on the pool's surface surged in the opposite direction. Even more bizarrely, the Yin Yuan spirit fish within the water were swimming backwards. She looked around. A caterpillar on a tree lunged at a bird, yet the bird fled in panic. The reflection of the snow-white pagoda in the moon washing lake had, at some unknown time, completely inverted. The entire world, save for Venerable Zhenyan herself, had fallen into a state of bizarre, twisted inversion. Venerable Zhenyan shot to her feet, astonishment swirling in her beautiful eyes. This is madness intent. Chen Jing's madness intent. Her crystalline pupils trembled as she murmured, "If that's the case, then in just over a month he has recovered from a 5, aperture, nascent soul to an 8, aperture 1. And he has forged a completely new path to the deity transformation realm, different from his past one." The tumult in her heart took a long time to settle. A trace of shame surfaced on her jade-like countenance. She asked herself in a low voice, "He came out of seclusion to see me, wanting to show me the fruits of his cultivation, didn't he? Yet I was so distracted by Fang Chen that I didn't even notice he had recovered to the 8 aperture stage. Not only did I fail to praise him, I even struck him." Thinking of this, She gritted her pearly teeth, hatingly declaring, "Fang Chen, you damned calamity. You're about to shatter the bond between me and Chen Jing. I must draw a clear line with you." Meanwhile, at the Immortal Cloud sect. With a sickening asterisk, thud asterisk. A head tumbled to the ground, spraying blood as it rolled several times before finally coming to a stop. In its terror-filled eyes was reflected a hellish scene. The entire sect was littered with corpses. Some were hung on stone pillars, others beaten to death on rooftops, and still others lay strewn haphazardly across the steps. Blindingly bright blood had converged into rivers, staining the vast plaza crimson. Shredded flesh and broken bones were scattered everywhere. And amidst this mountain of corpses and sea of blood stood an old man clad in black robes, his hands drenched in blood, his face dark and gloomy. He gripped the neck of the Immortal Cloud sect master, his voice icy, as if emerging from the depths of hell. "I ask for the last time, where is Wang Qian? The Immortal Cloud sect master's arms had been torn off, his belly ripped open, his hair disheveled, and his face covered in blood. He had clearly endured immense torture. He uttered a desperate plea, "Our Wang Qian, O of the Immortal Cloud, sect merely shared the same name as the one you seek, and you already killed him." "The Wang Qian, you're looking for, I truly do not know him." Venerable Sin Karma's eyes were cold and indifferent. With a slight exertion of force, the sect master's neck was twisted off. He discarded the head, flicked the blood from his sleeves, and surveyed the sea of corpses calmly. "I, too, am forced. The young emperor has given me only 5 days left. I can only kill 1,000, rather than let one slip away." He scanned the surroundings, confirming the Immortal Cloud sect was completely annihilated, with no one left to report to the Grand Wine Sacrificer. Only then did he narrow his eyes, gazing towards the direction of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion, his tone sinister. "That nominal disciple of mine, all talk and no action. He couldn't possibly think my things are so easy to take, could he?" Malevolent energy danced between his brows. Fang Chen had repeatedly promised to mobilize the forces of the Great Yin sect to help him search for Wang Qian. But there had been no follow-up whatsoever. Now the final deadline given by the young emperor was almost upon them, and Fang Chen still hadn't taken any action. He felt a sense of having been deceived. With a thought, he teleported, streaking towards the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. Time flowed on, turning our gaze to the Great Yin sect. Feng Yuanzong sat with his legs crossed, listening to the disciples' reports. A senior brother said respectfully, "Junior brother Feng, the sect protection grand array has been fully inspected and repaired. The reserves of healing spirit pills and various talismans have also reached their peak." Another disciple added, "Finally, all the yin corpses stored in the sect over the years have been inspected. We await Sect Master Fang's return for their distribution." The current Feng Yuanzong looked every bit the new master of the Great Yin sect. In Fang Chen's absence, he had been issuing orders to the entire sect. Hearing the first 2 points, he nodded with satisfaction, thoroughly enjoying the taste of commanding the entire sect. But upon hearing the last point, his brows furrowed into a deep scowl. He berated, what nonsense about Sect Master Fang, he was just passing through. "Do you actually take it seriously? From now on, no more calling him Sect Master Fang. The Great Yin sect has me and the elders. Fang Chen has no say here." The senior brother, having been scolded, said awkwardly, "Yes, junior brother Fang." Just then, a sudden change occurred. Dark clouds began to churn and roll above the Great Yin sect. One moment it was daytime, the next it was pitch black as ink. Then the clouds contracted, coalescing into 6 towering figures, wreathed in billowing demonic energy, with faint black divine halos shimmering behind their heads. The aura they exuded was like a whirl, dending, terrifying tidal wave. Feng Yuanzong, who had been lounging comfortably, trembled violently, tumbling off his reclining chair. Craning his neck to look up at the 6 majestic figures, he sucked in a sharp breath of cold air and exclaimed in shock, "Deity Transformation Venerables. 6 Deity Transformation Venerables." The 8 aperture nascent soul cultivators of the Great Yin sect rushed out, their faces uniformly etched with terror. Someone stammered, "They are Demon Path Venerables from the Great Baron Prefecture." Another cried out in panic, How could so many Demon Path Venerables descend upon our Great Yin sect?" Yet another guessed, who could have provoked them? It was no wonder they thought this, for the expressions on the faces of the 6 Demon Path Venerables were not particularly friendly. No one would be in a good mood after being volunteered to come and look after Fang Chen's sect. Venerable Desireless and Venerable Mortal Dust, The two venerables at the second heavenly tribulation of decay descended first. Venerable Desireless forced a slight smile and asked, "This is the Great Yin sect, correct?" An old 8-aperture nascent soul cultivator swallowed hard and replied, trembling, "Why? Yes, this is the Great Yin sect. May I ask, what guidance do the Venerable Seniors have for us?" Venerable Desireless spoke again. "Is Sect Master Fang present?" "Are you looking for Fang Chen?" Could this calamity have been drawn by Fang Chen? Feng Yuanzong hurriedly interjected, reporting to the honored venerables, "Sect Master Fang is not within the sect." Upon hearing this, Venerable Red Dust was greatly disappointed and sighed, "He's not here. I was hoping to be ruthlessly coerced and ravaged by him. What a pity." Venerable Desireless withdrew his smile and snorted lightly, "It's best he's not here. I have no desire to see him anyway." As he spoke, he casually waved a hand, and 3 formation discs inscribed with ancient runes appeared in his palm. He explained, "These are my Demon Abyss's grand defensive formations. Each can withstand a single strike from a deity transformation expert. These 3 discs represent a token of my Demon Abyss's regard for the Great Yin sect. You may accept them on behalf of your sect, Master Fang." With these 3 formation discs, one could block 3 direct strikes from the ancient Giant King. They were undoubtedly rare treasures, exceedingly difficult to obtain in the present age. Venerable Red Dust reluctantly produced a brocade pouch and said, "I had intended to give this to Sect Master Fang by his pillow, but you may safeguard it for now. Within lies the red dust illusory tone of my 10,000 demon grotto. Upon release, it can cause even a venerable to fall into illusion and lose themselves." This, too, was a peerless treasure for resisting the Giant King. Seeing this, the other 4 venerables each voluntarily offered generous gifts of their own. Gazing at the weighty treasures piling in his hands, Feng Yuanzong gulped hard. All these are for the Great Yin sect." Just as he prepared to accept them, the prudent 8-aperture nascent soul elder came to his senses in time and hastily said, reporting to the honored venerables, "Perhaps the plot you should go is the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion." These were clearly gifts bestowed upon Fang Chen by the venerables. To dare claim them for oneself would be to truly not know how the character for death is written. Venerable Red Dust expressed surprise, asking, "Oh, did he not declare himself to be the Great Yin sect master?" The 8-aperture nascent soul elder replied awkwardly, "That is his side occupation. His primary position is Chief Deputy Pavilion Master of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion." Side occupation. Venerable Red Dust and Venerable Desireless exchanged a glance, both somewhat bewildered. Venerable Desireless retrieved his formation discs, a look of curiosity appearing as he mused, "Is the Great Yin sect not one of the 3 divine sects of the Taikang Great Province? How can it be someone's side occupation? If the Great Yin sect is a side job, then what manner of existence must the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion, his primary occupation, be?"